So board and community, we've got a great lady here, Justine from Verkada. Chief Joe's going to go into here in a minute, but this has been about a 2.5 month process where we've been looking at the camera system for the city to help our public works, help our businesses, help the police force, help the firefighters, and basically the collective community to have better observation of the city, to do our jobs better across the whole gamut. So Justine's been in West Virginia quite a few times. She's worked with Bridgeport, Fayetteville, and some other areas, but I'm very happy she's here today. And really for her as the expert to give a presentation to the community board on what we've been discussing and what we're looking at. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief.
Well, he pretty much said what I was going to. So Justine is going to come up and give you a presentation on the camera system. Just to touch on a few of the highlights that this thing will do. We can position these cameras in multiple places all over the city. Intersections, which would give us, accident, reconstruction type, abilities to go back and see, what actually happened in an accident. It would give us license plate readers for where we could get notifications of wanted vehicles. It would give us the opportunity to, anywhere that there was a camera around, that if, say you put a picture of me in there, I'm a wanted person, you put my picture into this system, anytime I would pass by one of these cameras, it would give us a notification that, hey, you're a camera X, Y, or Z. It would give us the capabilities to track vehicles or people that maybe was involved in a shooting or a hit and run, and you've got a description of the vehicle you could put in, as she'll show you here shortly, like a red Ford truck. It'll show you every red Ford truck that has passed by these cameras and which way they're going. So it will give us a valuable tool to be able to solve things that maybe you might not be able to do without days and days of work and trying to gather video footage from private, homes or businesses across town that would, we're trying to piece together, which way a vehicle went or what it looked like, or maybe a tag number. If we had maybe, 50 or 100 of these cameras positioned all over town, you would be able to track, a vehicle or a person that maybe fled a scene. That would give us the capability of being able to, take care of that problem much faster. They're the best pieces of technology that I've seen since I've been doing law enforcement. I've been doing that for over 30 years. So anything else, this is Justine from Verkada, and she is going to give you a little demonstration on what these cameras are capable of. I don't know if she's going to link in, but we actually have 2 of them running here at City Hall right now. There's one in the back that they gave us as a demo camera, and there's one on the floor below. So we could plug in Jim's picture into this and see how many times Jim has actually passed this camera. It would give you that type of capability. So, Justine.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that introduction here. And I'm going to pull up this link so we can make sure all the folks at home are able to see this as well. So it's saying the host will let me in. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Share my screen here. So like the chief said, my name is Justine Sanji, and he gave a really good introduction as to where I work at a security technology company called Verkada. I traveled from California. We're located in 30 minutes south of San Francisco. In the past 8 months, I've actually been to West Virginia. I think I counted 6 times. This trip, I started at the WVU game this weekend. It was my first one ever. I brought my parents this trip, so we went there. And then we were in Bridgeport, Harrison County, Whitehall Town Meeting last night. It's a beautiful state, and I really enjoyed working with everybody here over the past 8 to 10 months being at Verkada. We've seen a lot of success in West Virginia, and there's a couple of reasons why. So when I started at Verkada, it was in November of last year, and last year there were 33 out of 55 sheriffs that were new in West Virginia. So when I studied all of what they were caring about in their campaign speeches, there were 4 things that really stood out. It was providing the best technology for their officers, right? It was a lack of deputies, so they needed more visibility throughout the counties, right? Because they didn't have enough people. It was making sure the taxpayer dollars were taken care of with budget, and it was hitting the drug crisis head on. Those were the 4 main points that most of the sheriffs were speaking about priority-wise for the counties. And so we've seen a lot of success with West Virginia Verkada because our technology is giving sheriff's departments, police departments, and city more control over community safety. And so I'm excited to chat with you a little bit about how that would look like for Bluefield today. So like I mentioned, we're based in San Mateo, California, about 30 minutes south of San Francisco. We're backed by some of the biggest VC venture capitalist firms in the game. Those names may not look familiar, but they've supported companies like Apple, Uber, Google, companies that redefined an industry, right? Going in a stranger's car to the WB game, right? In Uber, or staying in a stranger's home with Airbnb or Beach, whatever it might be. And they saw that same potential with Verkada in the security world. So our goal at Verkada was to take all the different devices that you managed in your building for physical security and put it in one place. The best way to describe this is we used to have an alarm clock, a phone book, a flashlight, a calculator, and now what do we have? We have a smartphone. So Verkada is doing that same thing for physical security. Your cameras, your alarms, your door access, your environmental sensors, eventually we'll go into lighting, HVAC, you name it. It's going to be managed under a single pane of glass through an app, like Amanda will show in a little bit with Verkada. So this is your traditional camera system. I understand you guys don't have a current camera system that you currently use within the city, but just to give you an overview of what a current camera system, a traditional one looks like and how Verkada is different. Traditionally, what you'll have is the cameras, which back up into a switch for internet and power to make sure they work. And then they'll go into an NVR. So that's one of the most, that's the biggest pain point people often see with security. It's bulky, it's expensive, and it's hard to maintain. I'm not going to bore you with this screen. I'm just going to move right on forward. So with Verkada, we really redefined it because it's only the camera. There's nothing else you need to purchase. There's nothing else you need to maintain. The storage is within the camera. It has up to 365 days of storage. So you plug it in and it works. You don't need anything else to maintain. All of our products have a 10-year product warranty, which is 5 to 7 years than anybody else in the industry. So you purchase your cameras and your licensing, you don't pay a dime for a decade. Cecil's not going to be coming back in 3 years saying, hey guys, it's time for an upgrade, which is really important. So we're hybrid cloud, which means we utilize the cloud. How we do that is we send all the footage to the cloud in thumbnails, encrypted thumbnails. And what that allows you to do is Amanda can go ahead and pull up her app in Princeton, Morgantown, or Brooke County, wherever she might be, and she can see the cameras and act if needed if she's not here on duty. And then the way you're actually able to see your footage is web-based. So right now I'm going to show you a demo for all of our cameras in San Mateo, but I'm here in Bluefield, West Virginia, and then through our app as well. It's very easy to use, easy to maintain. So when it comes to our presence here, I'll minimize this. When it comes to our presence here in West Virginia, like I said, we've had a lot of success in West Virginia. At this point, we're most likely in 30 out of 55 counties in the school system. We're in Mercer County schools. We also work with the city of Parkersburg, Clarksburg, Morgantown, Huntington, Summersville, Bridgeport, Bellington. Whitehall just approved a full deployment last night at their town meeting. Harrison County Sheriff, Berkeley County Sheriff, Wood County Sheriff, and right here in your backyard, Bluefield Housing Authority with Cindy Harrington. Again, this is a really community-based approach. Everybody wants to be on the same system, so you guys have the best case possible at being proactive with community safety, because as we know, things don't follow a county line or a city line. You have to be in communication with the other counties if you're going to really be proactive about the drug crisis and things that are in your municipality. And then something that's really unique about our product, we have automatic firmware updates. Basically what that means is anytime, because we utilize software, that we come up with a new tool. So like license plate recognition, a couple months ago, we came out with a firmware update that gave you higher speeds. It's all built in. And that's pretty unique. So the system actually gets smarter and better with time versus in 3 years, again, saying you gotta buy a new camera because you don't have access to the new tool. That doesn't happen with Verkada because we use software just like you update your smartphone. So any questions on kind of our progress as a company so far, or our footprint in West Virginia before I show you guys the demo?
The good thing about this is, and I know some of you are familiar, some of you are not, with our body camera system. Our body camera system, we have to have a server downstairs, they have to be docked, you know, they're stored for X amount of time. We pay a very healthy payment each year for that. You know, this one and done. There is no more, there's no annual fee, there's no, if a camera goes down, we ship it to them, they ship it right back. I mean, the newest and best. And these update regardless of, she was talking about the speeds. When they first did the license plate readers, you had to put those in an area to where it was probably 25 to 30 miles an hour, or they wouldn't capture. Now that's been, with their firmware, it's been updated to where like 65 miles an hour. To where now you can put those in different places, but you didn't have to go buy another camera, you didn't have to pay for an update. It automatically does it on its own. So any advancement in the cameras for the next 10 years, if we purchase them, we automatically get. They automatically update, they automatically go through. There's not another fee. We're not coming back in 5 years. If we purchase a 10-year license agreement, we're not coming back in 5 years saying, hey, we got to have X amount of dollars because this doesn't work anymore. It's automatic.
Yeah, exactly. And Sergeant Glenn Staley from Whitehall is a great example of this. He trialed our license plate recognition for about 6 months. And in the 6 months, he got 2 firmware updates. So the first was for higher speeds, and the second one was for vehicle of interest. So now we can put in an Amber Alert or a stolen vehicle plate, and he gets a proactive alert if they go on any of his cameras. He didn't move the camera, he didn't touch it, he woke up and it was there. So that's the power.
As she said, the Bluefield has a housing authority. Most of you know, I moonlight over there and work a little bit part-time, but they have 51 cameras. There's not an inch of that place that's not covered. And we have already utilized that more than a dozen times to solve different things over there because, I mean, you can't get away from it. I mean, it's perfect.
And it's nice that he'll be able to access that on his app from his desk versus having to drive up to the property.
Yeah, I've got the app on my phone. I can go straight to it and perfectly go and look at any camera that they've got. And we can give permissions, you know, for that, which she's going to get into, but suppose we had an incident that happened in the county and maybe it ended up here, you know, the sheriff calls me and says, hey, which, you know, we need some access. I think our suspect may have went here or there. I can grant him access to our camera system in a limited time frame, as little as an hour, as much as permanently, to where he can get in, access what he needs, or come over and, you know, I could go to him, any remote location, we could pull this up and be able to track what we're looking for.
I know you've been like at the housing authority, I think we should hire him at Verkada. So yeah, this is one tech station. No, but it's true. Thank you. And we are big about free trials at Verkada. So you guys have actually been working with the technology yourselves for quite some time. We're not just selling the dream. You know, Amanda's gonna be able to speak to that. It's pretty cool to see it in your own environment. So this is command. This is kind of what we're talking about. This is where you would access all of your different cameras. I know Princeton's evaluating this as well. The sheriff is on their radar. So you would be able to look at all your different cameras. And like he said, these are the different sites. So you could set up different sites for the housing authority, for City Hall, for Bluefield State College, whatever you wanted to do here. Like I said, we're trying to take all of the things that you manage and put it in one place. So that's this bar here. Access control with their door access, environmental alarms. But starting at kind of a bird's eye view of how this works, What you're able to do is actually see where all of your cameras are throughout the county, throughout the city, very easily. I can drill down. We'll go ahead and go to our headquarter view here. These are all the cameras that are currently active at our headquarter office in San Mateo. As you can see, they're green. Our cameras are on and they're recording 24/7, 24 frames per second. The reason that we bring that up is a lot of camera systems, because they use that NVR for storage, only record on motion, because it's a massive amount of money to store 24 hours a day of storage. So that's kind of our secret sauce. We're very low on bandwidth. So people hear cloud and think, what about internet? For the most bandwidth friendly solution is about sending an email every 20 seconds using our system. So as you can see, all the cameras are green. If a camera were to go offline, this would actually turn yellow and you would receive a notification saying, hey, the camera at the front of Bluefield Housing Authority has gone down. You probably want to check it out. Like I said, we have a 10-year product warranty. So 95% of anything that may go wrong with the camera, I can actually go right here to this help chat. And I can do one of two things. I can either search an article, camera offline, person of interest notifications, or I can chat with our team in under 5 minutes, and they sit in our headquarters in California and are ready to respond in under 5 minutes to help you out. The other 5% of the time, we drop shipping a camera overnight for 10 years. No gains there. We support our hardware. We have Tamper Alerts. So oftentimes when somebody does something and they see a camera, they don't want that camera to be there anymore potentially. So we have an accelerometer in the camera. So if somebody touches the camera, they try to move the camera, you'll get a proactive notification with a link to the video of the tamper alert. And so you know right away if somebody's trying to mess with your camera. Somebody puts a hat, they spray paint, we're gonna say this is not normal for the field of view, and we're gonna send you an alert with the video. So there's not gonna be any case where the camera states like, oh, we know everything. We know everything that happened and who did it. So hopping right into here into our floor plan view, what you're able to see is all of your cameras in an actual floor plan view. So for Mercer County Schools, for example, the reason that FERCOT is so popular with school, 40% of our customer base is schools, they can click camera by click camera in seconds to see the entire campus if something's happening. Right, you can also see if there's some colors that move throughout the building, that's motion plotting. So you're actually able to see when people are moving throughout the building. So in an active threat situation in a school, you see motion moving through the hallway, it's either a student out of place or the light threat. You can click the camera immediately and see exactly what's going on and respond quickly. Again, security is big about proactive, not just investigating, so that's huge.
You think about an active shooter in the school, and you're limited with people to go in, say there's just 3 or 4 of us. This would, you could go to you could pull it up on your phone and be able to track it, right from wherever your location is. You don't have to go to an office. You don't have to go to a classroom. You can do it from right in the hall, and you'll be able to click through each camera that they got to see where this shooter would be. Or, and if you think about the school system, or if you even think about City Hall, if you had a disgruntled ex-employee or I know we've had ex-employees that we put on trespassing lists that they're not allowed on city properties, and you would have this camera system on city properties, you could download their picture into this system. It's not characteristics, it's not brown hair, blue eyes. You download their picture into this system, and it would give you an alert anytime that they were on the school property, the city property. So if you had a disgruntled parent that had been, ejected from a ball game that we've had, and we have these at, say, our stadium, and that person would come through, we get a notification, hey, Dennis Dillo is on the property of X, Y, or Z. He just passed this camera. How we would be able to go take care of it. We use this in the housing authority because they have a trespassing list, people that's been banned from the housing authority. So if you take their picture and put it into the system, it'll tell you anytime that they're there, then you can go ahead and charge them with trespassing because you have the evidence to be able to do so.
But it can go bigger, gets into businesses. Again, Mr. Boyce talked to him, he's had folks break in the back of a funeral home, but again, these folks in the area alerts them. It's in our city parks, we have some vandalism. One of the chief concerns of the residents is, folks coming in the evenings causing issues. Once somebody, commits an offense, then we have them registered, and if they show back up in that park again, causing issues, we're alerted. And, we give the residents some assurance. we're monitoring and tracking when we cannot. We don't have the bandwidth of police officers to put them in every park, every corner across the city. This helps, use technology to give us better eyes across the board.
The best example I could probably use is, we've had the discussion for over a year now about East River Park. If we had this camera at East River Park and we had trouble at East River Park and you could identify who it was, you ban them from that park, then you could download their picture into this system. Anytime they come back to that park and this thing will give you a notification, then we could go and remove them. Because obviously we can't sit there 24/7. You can't be there after hours, all the time. So it would give you that capability to be able to handle those type of problems, and then you would fix that issue, and then we wouldn't have the problems that we have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Park, we work with the Narcotics Task Force in Parkersburg, so I work pretty closely with those guys. And a lot of the proactive notifications that they get have really helped them when it's a park at nighttime and they need to know if a vehicle comes in that lot and you can't be sitting there. All of the people on duty will get a message with the video of a car coming in the lot at 2:44 in the morning. And they know either that's one of us on patrol or we gotta go now. So this is one of the cameras as an example here. And one of the things with current systems that's typically really hard is it takes hours to find a 20-second clip of when something's happened. With our system, you can actually go in here. Before I do that, you can actually look at 24 hours worth of footage in seconds. These are all those thumbnails that I was talking about that we send up to the cloud. So I now can see 24 hours, and the blue implies motion. The green box is if it's a person, yellow box if it's a vehicle. I can go here and say, let's say the funeral home, for example, right? All right, somebody came in the back door again last night. I say, all right, I need to know anytime there was motion to that back door, and I only want to know if it was a person. And immediately, we're going to pull it up for you and say, here you go, from now, historically, here's every time that a person's gone through this back door. And so immediately, you have the footage without doing any other work.
Yeah, if you notice, she zoomed in on the door. You didn't get the whole sidewalk, just the door. So that way you don't have all of the other people that walk down the sidewalk. It was just a capability of doing the door. I mean, that's how advanced these things are. You can really get to what you need.
It just saves you time. When you talk about law enforcement, the biggest thing that they need is time, right? So it just allows you to save a lot of time that way. What they were referring to with people is a scenario, let's say that you knew the description of somebody that went in that funeral home back door, right? So I could go in here and I could say, all right, somebody said that it's somebody with a red shirt went in, but that's all we know. Perfect. Chief goes right in here. I need to know every time somebody in a red shirt went past this camera, right, at the park or wherever it might be, and immediately we've done the work for you, and you can click in there and send it immediately to whoever you need to, the local news, whatever it might be. Again, this is just machine learning, pulling up a color to help you out with your searches. Those are the main ways that you can really find your footage that we'll focus on today. But I do want to make sure that I show you guys an example of our vehicle analytics as well. Let me pull this up here. I guess we'll go in, we can go into the people search. So for example, at the housing authority, like they said, if they have a photo of somebody that's on the trespass list or schools, a parent that doesn't have disability rights for whatever reason, you can create that profile and then very quickly you can go in here and see where that person has been throughout any of your cameras. So you can very quickly pull up a report of, we don't have any missing puzzle pieces from this shooting that happened or this robbery or breaking in. You have all the information in your toolbox to very quickly come to a conclusion and you're done.
Yeah, and I want to make something.
It's very good. Yeah, so what we track is between the eyes and the eyes to the ear. So I can actually pull up, great question, I'll pull up a profile that shows a mask. You should have, let's see, somebody that I know works here at least. We get asked that a lot. So we work with like a lot of healthcare places. And so we have, let's see, this is maybe more accurate. There you go. There's an example of the gentleman wearing a mask. Yep.
All right, and to clear something up too. These are actual photos that you download. This has nothing to do with facial recognition. That is a big question all across the country. These are photos that you have actually put in here. This is not a description of whatever that type of description that you was looking for in a person. Has nothing to do with facial recognition.
Yeah, we don't.
It's not
integrate
going to
any
give you
government.
facial recognition.
Right.
It's actual photos that you put in.
So based upon the incident that you have that's occurring, so
Right.
if somebody were to do something that you download all the skills that you have and it recognizes.
And you put the name on
It
it.
recognizes what you put into the system. It
Okay.
don't randomly pull,
You're not identifying people
Yeah.
from a database of billions of
Exactly.
facial images
Exactly.
based on these characteristics.
So facial recognition implies that we have an integration with a government system that can tell you that was Cecil Johnson. I don't know your last name, you should know that, right? That Cecil XYZ. We don't have any ability to do that. We're just pulling the analytics and you put the name, you do it yourself. There's no integrations. Yeah. So this is a vehicle example right here. So I can go ahead and say, all right, I know that, as the example they gave earlier, I know that it was a white, and I can even say, it was a white truck that went through this area, at the park. That was what reported. Immediately, when you pull that up, we'll give you all the white trucks that have gone through that camera that you're looking at. Again, saving you guys time when something's happened, you immediately have it and can send it very quickly to the local news, the newspaper, wherever it might be.
So even at nighttime, it picks up colors pretty well?
So it depends on the lighting in the area. We work with, so we're the manufacturer. We work through local West Virginia resellers and install groups. We support the local companies. So they would set it up in an area that tried to have enough lighting to pull the vehicles. It's not going to be as specific because you're working with less light. Light is what picks up color, but it's not too bad. It still typically will pull up if it's a vehicle, and you can do the math if it's 2:44 in the morning or something.
I've used it at night in the house authority, and it's pretty good. But it's well lit in most places, so, obviously, if it's a completely dark area, it's gonna be worse. But the good thing is it gives you enough visual recognition of the vehicle that you know what's coming through. You can track them from, it's funny, you can track them from camera to camera to camera to camera. It almost gives you a direction of traffic.
Exactly.
And what's up to power source?
Yes, it's just normal power source. So a lot of they only require PoE, so power over Ethernet. So if you can get it power and you can get it internet, that's all. You don't need anything else, no servers, anything like that. So we work with most of our, like Bridgeport, for example, is putting probably 50 cameras around town on pole deployments and things like that. A lot of that where Christmas lights are plugged in, all those sort of things, very easy. And then you can have they work with US Cellular already, and they can connect it via cellular or via hardwiring. It's pretty dependent on just what you guys have, and we'll help you out with that. This is a good example of the license plate recognition here, like the chief was noting. So you can go, it's gonna pull all the different license plates that have come in through Bluefield. This has been really popular for, counties that are on the state line, seeing who comes in and out of the county and tracking a pattern. Like I said, Parkersburg has LPR at every entrance and exit of their city. So they can actually track the patterns because it's very specific. Typically, the people who are bringing in the drugs are coming in every 3 days and they're leaving every 4 days. There's a pattern going there. So they're actually able to pull that up. And like he noted, I can even search by a certain license plate. And immediately we'll pull up all the different times that plate has been noted by that LPR. And then I can turn it on as a license plate of interest. So now we know exactly when they're coming in, not just when we do a historical report.
Yeah, if you turn it on as a plate of interest, we'll get a notification every time that vehicle comes through.
With the clip of where they're coming in. Yep, again, very proactive approaches for law enforcement to try to have the best possible way to, combat the drug crisis there.
Has it helped the Parkersburg a lot?
Say that again?
Has it helped the task force in Parkersburg?
Yeah, I can give you direct contacts. We've worked with them for about 3 years at this point. There's a pretty notable case probably about 4 months ago that was caught with narcotic cameras. So that was a pretty big deal down there for the task force. So I'm happy to get you guys Detective Barnett, work very closely with him. Chief Martin, happy to get you guys connected with anybody we work with in the state that's been using the system
Our
already.
drug task force would have access to these cameras. And as everybody knows, you've personally had issues in your area with one of your businesses, vehicles that come and go. Well, obviously, if we have 4 people working that day, you can't set somebody down there 24/7. But if we know that certain vehicles coming through at a certain time, or We don't know when it's coming through, but we know the tag number. We can put that on in there and it'll tell us each time, and then you can develop a pattern. Task force can develop a pattern and they can set up as needed, to do what they need to do. This will absolutely, in a small city, in a small police department, this will be one of the best tools outside of our K9s that I think I've ever seen. We've not had this type of ability to use this against crime in all fashions that I've ever seen.
So like in that wide angle shot that you have outside, how closely can you drill down to get to that license plate?
So there's two types of zoom. In this case, you can actually do a digital zoom, which is in the software. So I can move around within our actual software here. Depending on the camera model that you choose, each camera model is specific based on where you're putting it and what you care about. So if you want general visibility, you're not going to get a camera with crazy zoom. But if you want to look 200 feet away at a house that's been an issue and have just keep it there, that would be like a telephoto roller. So depending on the area you care about. But yeah, you can very easily zoom in, as you can see here, once that door closes, and it's pretty strong, clear footage once you zoom
So
in.
in that other angle that you had, that's a wide angle look at the parking lot, the street, how close can you drill down to a car that's in that area?
Yep, so for this one right now, it's the digital zoom. You can go as far as this. And then if you were to use a camera that had more zoom capabilities, it's called optical zoom. It actually switches the lens and puts the lens in further. This is via just the software. So the lens would be if I want to look at 200 feet away, and I actually change the manipulation of where the lens is looking at, and then it has all the pixels, but it's within a smaller area 200 feet away. This is, you see the whole thing, it's recording the whole thing, but I have the ability live or historically to cruise around and see what I want to see more.
So like that truck, could you zoom in on that truck's license plate?
At this angle, that's probably not what you would want this camera to be angled at. If you're trying to pull something that's a little bit, to be able to pull plates that are going through, you're probably gonna want something that's more.
Yeah, if you were at an intersection, say, I'm gonna use the Chamber of Commerce intersection, and you're pointing down Bland, you would want one with good zoom capabilities down that roadway. So that's when you would put that type of camera there. If we were gonna do Princeton Avenue and Bland or Federal, then you would have one similar to this, because you're not going to zoom out beyond that intersection right there. The company that would come in, once we decide where we want each specific camera, this company would come in with us, tell us it's feasible to put it here or not, and which camera would best suit what we need for that. There's 3 or 4 different types to choose from. So depending on where you want to put them, like we was going to offer this to some of our businesses. You know, if you would like to get on board with us, purchase a camera, say you wanted one in the front of your store.
I want them all over my store.
Well, I'm just saying that if you wanted one in the front of your store, you would want one like this. If you wanted
a
one,
house too.
well, that's another option as well. But suppose you wanted one that was going to show a parking lot, then you would want, you know, the other option.
I mean, what I've asked the team, what I've asked the team to do is basically every department head, I've talked to Princeton. Everybody's putting together a kind of dream sheet of what, in a perfect world, unlimited funds, how would we set up the city to have a 24/7 coverage of everything we need. Then we'll have to dial it back with the pros and go, okay, you know, what is your expectation from this camera angle over top the bathrooms at City Park? Is it the, read retinas? Or is it a general view of what we need to have right there? And then we'll make decisions off each camera. There'll also be some costs associated with that. But then the goal is to get, if we're looking all the way on College Avenue so we can hit license plates, going into Bluefield, Virginia, okay, we make sure strategically we set one or two of the telescopic, license plate readers and build it in. So it's going to be a back and forth, and part of that this afternoon, talking with Justine is having that discussion. But the hope is between us, Mercer County and Princeton, which Peter and I talked to last week, is to buy bulk, also give an opportunity for the businesses to be involved in it, and it'll just drop our costs down, but we'll get the coverage we need. And I know we've been very heavy on law enforcement in the discussion. For every winter, there's 10,000 calls that go into Public Works about snow and snow removal and the issues. Well, this would be very helpful. because everybody's gonna look out their window and go, hey, it's the apocalypse now. Please come over here and plow. But we can actually pull the cameras in and look and really get to, okay, this is a really bad spot. Ken, you gotta hit this first and this second to differentiate, because from the community,
Especially if we have it on the intersections.
so we're just gonna get a quick hit. And the Bridgeport Police Chief gave a very good video on some of the traffic accidents they're having. They're often very much, he said, she said, like down on College in Maryland, near where I live, there's an accident there. It appears to be every 2 weeks. And it's always the same. It's kind of a he said, she said. I don't know exactly what happened, but these cameras now can really paint a picture of what exactly took place and help the police officers to kind of get to the bottom of what happened. Where we don't have that visibility right now.
Yeah, in Bridgeport and Whitehall, I spoke at both, like I was at town hall last night, and I was in Bridgeport, about a month or two ago. And their BBB representative was there, and they already have multiple business owners that they're gonna tack on to what the city paid at that discount level. And they're gonna purchase cameras themselves, or put out a flyer. We'd be happy to do the same thing for you guys. It's, here's what we offer, what are you looking for, and then we'll make sure you get taken care of. We already have about probably like 4 or 5 businesses in Bridgeport that have already raised their hand, car dealerships that pay a lot of tax dollars and want to know if somebody comes on their parking lot at 3:44 in the morning.
Yeah, you would personally get a notification.
Yeah.
You know, then you could, call 911, or if you gave us access, then we could, get it too. So, it would be perfect. If I owned a business and these were available, you would want it. I mean, it's just absolutely something that would, even a property owner, homeowner, if you lived alone and needed, that 24/7 look, you could look at it from your phone. And it might be an animal in the yard, or it might be somebody else, and then you can make that call to us. It's really, really good.
So if it's a rental property, let's say rental property in a bad neighborhood, could they give y'all access to that as well as the owner?
Absolutely. If you was a business owner or owner, and you purchased one of these cameras, say you wanted it for just outside your residence, okay, just for security purposes, you could go in and set up whatever you wanted, notifications if somebody was on your porch or something like that, and then you could call us, and obviously we would respond, take care of whatever issue you had. But you could also give us permissions to go in, even if it was just for an hour, to gather the info that we needed for court purposes and go from there.
Yeah, so it's site-based and then user-based. So if you want your law enforcement to have certain access to cameras and your facilities team to only have certain, or Princeton to only be able to see the main view, but not actually the park, it's completely, you can do it site-based, user-based. It's very granular in how you project your footage. The last thing I'll note here, as I'm racing the clock, the red bar on my computer here, crunches up. The next thing I'll show really quickly is just how to save footage. So traditionally, it's when you try to save footage out of that NVR, you gotta put it on a shared file, you gotta put it on a thumb drive, and then you gotta somehow physically get it to the police department, wherever it might be. With Verkada, all you actually do is you pull up the clip that you want to save. You click this button here. I pick the time frame, so it could be 12 hours. Bridgeport, Clarksburg, Whitehall are putting these in their interview rooms. We have live audio capabilities, so they're actually just saving this clip and immediately into their archive library. You add a note, you can blur faces or sensitive investigations. You click archive here. What we're going to be able to do is just go into our archive library. And these are all of the saved clips. Now, you'll only have access to the saved clips that you have access to. You won't have access to the clips that are sensitive, again, very protected. So I can go in here, I can click it, it's watermarked, which means you can use it in court. And then unlike traditional systems, I can immediately share this right now via text or email. And I choose if you can download it or if you can just look at the clip and it expires in 5 minutes. So it's really protected there. And then something to note is our tags. This is really nice for continuous investigations. So let's say that, again, I'm going to use the cart, for example. If you have something that's continuously happening, I can actually create a folder saying XYZ Park, save all just add that tag, and now I have all the clips associated with that investigation in one place. And I can very easily send it in an email, and I'm done. So the main selling points again of Verkada is it's really easy to use. A lot of systems are not easy to use. It's really nice if your IT director can pull footage, but we want it to be that everybody kind of has a hand in the community safety. 10-year product warranty, we back it up for a decade, which is pretty unheard of in the industry. The automatic firmware updates, every time we come out with a new tool, like pulling the color or whatever it might be, you automatically get it. And then, yeah, I think our presence in West Virginia speaks for itself in the sense of we've been able to help a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of them will be able to chat with you about certain scenarios that have either been prevented or solved pretty quickly due to just having more visibility. And community members are traditionally very proactive and supportive of having more visibility in their communities that they live in. So happy to answer any other questions.
I just have one. I trust Chief Dillo, Officer Moore. I actually attended one of the virtual ones that you guys put on. Awesome, love the equipment. Only question I have.
Yeah.
So I'll use my parents for example. I buy them a brand new Mac computer and it's got all the bells and whistles, right? But it only helps if they know how to use it, right? So it's very easy to use. Great. Is there access 24/7 for us to access somebody? If we need a particular feature that somebody on shift doesn't know how to do, there's access for that?
Yep, great question. Yes. So short answer, we work with West Virginia Department of Adult Education. I was actually part of that project. We're in every location around the state. I think 81 of their locations. I work with them out of Charleston. And I've done, I think, 10+ trainings with every instructor and regional group very thoroughly. And they have my direct phone number and email if they need something. But again, let's say that it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I can go to this help chat and say, hey, I don't actually know how, and there it goes. I don't actually know how to save footage. You just type in saving footage and there's articles with videos to show you how. So yeah, the support system is pretty thorough.
It's that, look, I'm not a computer guy. If I can do it, anybody can, so I mean, it's really simple to get on and learn. I don't know that there's an easier system out there to be able to use. And Billy, can you pull up the one that we have here? Or are you gonna pull up the one that we have here? Or,
I gave, all right.
Well,
I
first-
can't go ahead and show.
No worries. You
okay.
could just show the app if you wanted.
Well-
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd see on my phone. but-
well,
I mean,
regardless, we have the capability. I mean, this camera here, we've been test driving it for a couple of weeks. And if you pop it up on the app, it'll show everything that's happening here 24/7. So if you, suppose we had an issue with somebody that was sneaking in late at night or something, and you wanted to know who it was, or you had an employee that was telling you they was working, they weren't, and you wanted to see if they were here. Very simple, pull this camera up. You could put in a picture, you could just go through and look, and it would let you know, hey, how many times I've passed by that camera.
I mean, the goal is to be extremely transparent. We're in our community, we have cameras everywhere. I want Jim to advertise. We're trying to attract new business. This is what we have here. We're trying to grow Bluefield State College. We got more kids staying here now. I want all those parents to know that, hey, we've got a city that's safe. We watch everything that's going on, so your kid can go from point A to point B to Blue Spoon or wherever and not worry about them because we have good observation. And, we did have it on the law enforcement, which is really important to me, but it's a broader thing than
Yeah,
just law
Bluefield State College
enforcement.
is actually on board, wanting to get in on this. It'll help the campus, and some of the problems that they've had, so it'd be perfect.
I apologize if you already answered
No
this. How long is the data stored? So how many years back can we look?
So it's solid state storage in the camera. So depending on the cameras you guys buy, 30-day, 90-day, 365 days on that storage. But once you archive a clip, you save it, it's indefinite.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suppose we wanted to go in and save an accident that happened right here in this intersection, then it's there until we.
But it's not just passive. We have to actively mark the things we want stored for.
Yeah, exactly.
Suppose we had a 90-day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really 30 days about the most common. Our jail is a 45 days, just to give you an example. So if you had a 90-day, after 90 days, if you've not archived it, then it would So you can't store everything 20%,
I didn't think so.
but it would do it for
Depending on
whatever,
which area you can get.
whatever we decide to use.
So you're kind of like a Ring, Google Nest type thing on steroids mixed with Google, Apple,
It's a
iCloud.
beautiful example. I always say, like, if you look at enterprise grade security systems, they're pretty poor innovation wise. And Ring had a lot more capability, like going on your app, doing different things. My dad gets a notification every time there's motion at our front door, and it was pulls up, it's my niece and nephew, right? But most systems didn't even have that in the enterprise world. So our founder, Hans Robertson, actually was the founder of Meraki. You've ever heard of Meraki, which was sold to Cisco for $1.2 billion. And that's 1% of Cisco's business. And the reason he came up with Verkada is because there was such a gap in enterprise security. The systems had not innovated in 20+ years. And these days it's really important to have as much technology as possible for community safety.
We're gonna cut it off there. I think you
Yeah.
got the gist of it.
Thank you guys very much. I
If
appreciate
you
it.
have any questions or want to see some of it, you can come and see me, or you can come and see Amanda. You know, we could give you a tour of what we got going on, but,
And Justin will be around
these
this
are
afternoon, too.
Yeah.
cameras.
I'll stick around.
Thanks, Justine.
All right, thank you very much. Approval of minutes from October 26, 2021. A motion. A motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approval, signify by saying aye. They're taking over. You know, so it's, you go this out, that's up. All right, approval, new business, approval of contract for the Union Street House.
Mr. Mayor, before the meeting, Chief Dillo approached Mr. Martin and asked that we table this for some further discussion internally, if that's okay.
That'd be great. Do we need a motion to table the?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, approval of an application for FEMA AFG grants. Who's got the?
So the AFG grant is for the breathing systems, the respirators for the fire department.
Oh, that's Marie's thing.
It is.
And how much is it?
I want to say, I think it was $10,000 on it.
All right, motion to approve the application, and motion in a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approval, signify by saying aye. All right, is Lori online for our?
No, she couldn't make it, so she asked me to try to pitch in. I'm not news with the story, but I'll do best.
Okay. Approval of exit one, local drawdown number 15, in the amount of $5,221.
Yes, sir, and each of you should have this packet. If you look on page 3, it gives you breakdown from administration, engineering, and those kind of things. So that's where the number is, half the total amount. Half will be paid local funds, and the other half will be with the grant once we close and have access to the grant funds.
Need a motion to approve. And a motion in a second. Any questions or comments for Jim? All in favor of approval, signify by saying aye. All right.
Mr. Mayor, there's one that I'd like to note. If you look on again, page 3, there's legal for $2,000 for Bill Winfrey. That did not make it on the agenda. That's not listed here. So you want to defer that to the next one, or can you go ahead and?
No, let's go ahead and approve it now. So need a motion to approve payment of Bill Winfrey's legal invoice of $2,000. Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for Jim? All in favor, signify by saying aye. He's been really good to step in where we needed him, and he's had the right contacts to get us what we needed to have done out there. But a process trying to get that done. So
This invoice was on the property, the title, search, everything. There'll be one forthcoming for the agreement with Cumberland PSD.
okay. All right, next. Invoice number 24 and then $2,846.70. That motion to approve. All right, have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? All in favor of approval, signify by saying aye. All right, and approval of invoice number 25 in the amount of $1,897.80. So have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Okay. All right. Even though Lori's not here, I guess we're gonna approve her.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Or I guess you could table it, John.
It's okay. So she does a good job. All right, I have a motion to approve invoice number 51552 in the amount of $2,592.50. And I have a second from Daniel. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye. All right, and then on a related note, a motion to approve invoice number 51592, so the amount of $1,105. Got a motion to approve and a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approval signify by saying aye. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Jim. Next on the agenda is approval of the first reading of ordinance adding Article 3, Sections 34 150 through 34 153 to Chapter 34 of the Code of Ordinances.
Mr. Mayor, last time we were here, we were approached by Ms. French regarding possibly honorary naming part of Pulaski Street after Bishop Moore. And actually, when Cecil had arrived here in August, one of the first things he brought to my attention was the need for kind of some naming principles for when we name streets and things of that nature. We've always done all that on an ad hoc basis, including the recent naming of the Bishop Clarence E. Moore Memorial Park. So we haven't really had principles or guidelines to do that. And after we were approached about Pulaski Street, that brought to my attention sort of how they did it, because an honorary street name is a special type of program. I drafted this ordinance after principles that they use in New Orleans, which has a very active honorary street naming program. So this sets forth the principles by which we would select a person or which we would approve an honorary street name, and how we go about doing that, the type of signage and the cost of doing so.
Any questions about that? Bottom line, I wanted a transparent system with the community knew what the process was for a naming convention. And I wanted the city hall and the board protected. We weren't showing favoritism or anything else. If you have a clear process for naming of streets and other things that we follow to just make it an easier process for all of us.
Have a motion to approve and a second from Daniel. Anyone have questions or comments? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye. All right, thank you all. All right, well, I guess that does it for new business. County Finance.
What you have before you, of course, is the financial summary for October. It's the fourth month of our fiscal year. Revenue collected total 4.5 million, the projected amount of 10 million in our budget. Expenditures total right at 4 million, or 24% of the projected budget. It was pretty strong revenue month in October, which it typically is. That's a normal cycle for us. We had, of course, some increase in property taxes, oil and gas severance tax, which only comes once a year, of course, in October. Some of the third quarter B&O tax was received in October, and we had the October distribution of sales tax. In addition to all of that, we had offshore Mitchell Stadium leases received in October. So October was a good month. Expenditures in October were relatively run-of-the-mill, but a few of the highlighted ones I've listed there for you. We did purchase the 30-yard leaf collector for almost $63,000. We paid our annual $2,000 home rule assessment fee to the state. The $6,000 final payment to E.L. Robinson for the bulk transfer study was made in October. Bulk fuel costs for October, $16,627. You can see that kind of fluctuate depending on the price of fuel. We did pay Otis Elevator the annual maintenance contract for the arts building at right at $2,700. We did have one tuition fee to the West Virginia State Police Academy that came due for, I believe he's already back home now, right?
Cantrell.
Yeah.
He graduated from.
Some annual pump tests for the fire department engines, all three engines for $690. And a John Deere tractor for the park and trail maintenance, $21,600. That, of course, was some community foundation money that came Back. And 2 payrolls in October totaling $453,000. Was also pretty documentation.
Motion to approve the October financial summary as presented. So have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for Kelly? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Thank you, Kelly. And Stacy.
Okay, I'll be brief today since we had a great discussion with Justine. My priority today was to get the word out on the cameras for the community, so that was great. Thank you, Justine and Chief and Amanda. Okay, can we start scrolling up, Brandon, please? Other way, I'm sorry, scroll down, please. Just a couple of things, go up to the holiday updates real quick for the community. Just a few things to make everybody aware of. 15 November, the tail yard parking lot out by the rail yard in Warwick is going to get closed. So we're in the final throes to finish up the holiday lights out at the city park. Those will be starting to get tested at the end of this week. The 18th of November is the first kind of drive through with the employees of the city. They get to see that. Also on the 18th, so everyone's aware, we're going to do an award ceremony at the Granada for a bunch of the folks in the city. Done a great job over the last year dealing with COVID. But the 15th of November, which is Monday next week, we're going to close that parking lot. And that's going to begin the process of getting all the lights set up in there for our Christmas market and the big push to bring folks downtown. So that'll start on Monday, and you're going to see Public Works out there starting to set up our, for lack of a better term, mini holiday of lights to bring everybody into the city this year and have a wonderful Christmas. So that's going on. Just want to give everybody a heads up.
With that closure, do we have an alternate parking area that we would suggest that people use?
I mean, right now, Ron, I will specify and make sure it gets out in the news everywhere else. But right now, parking, with most of our parking lots is not a challenge yet, at least with COVID still going on. So we still have quite a bit of parking down there, but I'll make sure we're more.
There's still quite a few people that park there.
There are. There's a truck we've got to get moved down there. It's stuck there for about the last 3 weeks. So we're working on that as well.
Casey, if you had that camera system, you'd be able to tell exactly what.
That's right. That's right. Okay, can you scroll down for me, Brandon? So here's a quick snapshot. This is the map that we've broken down. I discussed this last city board meeting. We're starting to break down all the athletic teams from Bluefield State College, and then we're going to blow up each individual section for the athletic team. I've got one more discussion with the athletic director, some of the coaches, their marketing team over at Bluefield State College, and Keith Olson and a few other folks to make sure that we're all simpatico on this program where we're going out into community outreach. Brandon's got a little bit more description to do to help out Public Works so we can mark these areas with the signs that we discussed. So everybody takes ownership of their areas. Once all that's done and I have agreement between the city and Bluefield State College, the next phase will be to bring it into the board and the folks from each district. And then we're going to reach out to the community. And most likely, I see this being a town hall at some point where I'll bring the coaches in and these folks from the community. It's open, anybody in the community wants to be a part of it. But for example, an area, over on the north side of town, if that's Cecil Marson is the representative over there, I'll come to the town hall and I'll link myself up with their coach, whether that's Tony Coachman for football or one of the other coaches over there to build that lash up to kick this program off. And it begins, kind of a long serve the hill type program from Bluefield State College right around the community with all the athletic teams doing great stuff. So we're almost there and we're getting this tied in, and Brandon and Carrie have done a good job of taking the number of teams, the structures, and trying to break this down equitably across the city so we have good representation and we start getting the college kids nice and tight with the community. So we're getting there. We're probably at about a 70% solution, and we'll be pushing that through the next couple of weeks where it needs to be. But we're getting close. But thanks for that, Brandon. Can you scroll down for me, please? This is just another project we're working, getting it going. Weather has not been overly cooperative. This is just a quick picture downtown with Miss Lily, the art teacher at Bluefield High School, and some of her students. The ugly guy in the middle there is me, but they've got these high school kids out painting some of the windows, as you see down there, 1 through 12. are the buildings, then below is a map. And this is to some of the business owners and of course, some of the property we own in the city downtown. It's an effort to start trying to clean up some of the windows and move us forward and bring some of the kids from the high school to get them some recognition and put some of their talent to work to help to clean up the city. So this is a first stab at it, but I'm very appreciative of those kids and Miss Sully for taking a run at it to start helping us clean up. And this is just the beginning, and we'll just keep pushing as we work more and more and get more ideas from the community on how to clean up the downtown. But a great first start. Okay. And what I'd like to do, Brandon, if you can, just go forward to the stormwater and engineering for me. And go ahead, Brandon, if you give a quick rundown for the team.
Okay, so back in June, we had some torrential downfall or rainfall that occurred throughout the city, and we did have some localized flooding. A lot of people don't know this, but the landscaping, which this is old imagery, but this is the lot that's going to be closed beside of the tail yard on November 15th. The landscaping that runs through here is actually called a rain garden, and that's part of our stormwater infrastructure. So on the top, it looks like your typical landscaping, but below it, we have these chambers and filtration through different layers of rock and sand that help make the stormwater look good as far as the runoff from this large parking lot. But also it's an efficiency thing. But what we ran into after those torrential downpours that we received back in June, it exploited a weakness. So this was a damaged chamber that we had underground, and some may have seen a hole open up in the landscaping. So this repair was fairly extensive. The guys had to replace an entire section of pipe, but that is functional, and we're hoping to have that fixed back. It's gravelled now, but hopefully have that re-landscaped soon. This is the future site of the Dollar General. They're making very good progress on the avenue. We had to tie in to existing stormwater infrastructure just on the ends. So the developer is responsible for everything in between, if I recall correctly. One of the issues we had here was after the buildings were demolished, there was an old stone basically channel that was put in for stormwater to go from here to here and tie into the main on the avenue. So our guys had to make the connections here, which is this section here. And then on Rogers Street, where there's a retaining wall, this new piece of corrugated plastic pipe was concreted in and tied in with the stormwater infrastructure on Rogers Street right here. So that's just to keep everything flowing as it should. So that's complete. Crews are finishing up the infrastructure upgrades ahead of paving. So Thorn Street was one of the bigger ones that they had to do some rebuilding of stormwater basins on. Engineering and Beta, they're continuing work at Exit 1. And the city engineering is still meeting on a regular basis with the future BAT transit facility down below the bridge there. They're making really good progress. They have the shell of the building up, as many have probably seen driving by, and work is continuing on that. Okay, here's our new paving dashboard. So this shows the number of miles that have been paved since fiscal year 2012. This is a little better explanation than we previously had. We have our streets broken down into quadrants and a grid, and we have These are just road sections, not necessarily streets, but road sections broken down here. So anyways. All right, so we had a total of 20 building permits with a total construction value of $629,535. And we'll move into infrastructure real quick. These are carryovers. These are continuing projects. This one's West Virginia American Water Company, the Cherrywood Lane project. So that's making the connection here at Leatherwood, up College Avenue, up Gulf Street, and Cherrywood Lane in Augusta. This one is proposed, but I did just hear that Stadium Drive is complete. So we're hoping that they jump on the Sunrise Drive project. The tap for the dormitories that they're building at Bluefield State College, that's completed to the best of my knowledge, and they are working on upgrading the service for the Dollar General site, and I think that may be completed as of today. Bluefield Sanitary Board, these are a list of 11 recently closed projects. As you can see outlined in the map, I won't read through the whole list there, but you can kind of see what's going on there. They're scattered about. Cardinal Natural Gas, the Vineyard Street upgrade project. You may have seen truck parked or some trucks parked in and around this area. I think there was one parked on College Avenue yesterday. So I know they are actively working in this section here that is west of College Avenue. The Horton Road project, that's a pretty major one. And again, they're still working on it, and they're hoping to have it completed within the next 3 to 4 weeks, weather permitting. And that's all I have for engineering.
Hey, thanks, Brandon. Great rundown. Only added also the pipe works is the obelisk, which you've seen on numerous briefs. We are starting to get into the south side of town. We're still pretty heavy on some of the holiday lights and other general work, but this is to show that they're starting to get in the south side now and starting to fix some of those obelisks as well. Okay, keep going for me, Brandon. Holiday lights, we're almost there. 18th will be our drive through to kind of see the lights and see where they're at, but it's going to be awesome. Okay. And this is just our website on the Christmas City. Great job by Savannah. She's done a phenomenal job. Appreciate all she's done. She's done some other work to boost us on social media and some great stuff. And Jim's getting his rack cars ready. So we'll hit the ground running hard this year and try to have a great Christmas, which we will. Okay. Hey, if you would, just take me to the end real quick, Brandon. And just show me the police officers real quick. You can just see some great photos. Keep going for me, please. Good looking picture of one of our future officers there. Looks a lot better than Dennis, but I think we had about 450 kids come through the trick or treat, so it's pretty good. You look at that young guy out there beside Thor. He looks pretty rough and tough. He's that little joker, but it was just a good day. Okay. Hey, the last thing, you just take me to the end, Brandon. The last thing I'll leave you with, just a couple of things. Peter and I went to the county commission last week and had to sit down with Greg Puckett. Bottom line, concerning the ARPA funding, I see about 4 potential areas where we can work together with Mercer County and Princeton. One of them being the camera systems, another one being the infrastructure, and another big area also being demolitions across the board with our dilapidated structures. We all have a requirement, whether we're talking Princeton, some of the outlying areas like Matoka, and then of course the last piece is a potential joint training fire center there. So the reason I tell you that is because if we can partner, there's a good opportunity that the prices we'll pay to do these certain things will go down, and also it'll unite the county writ large to actually petition the state for some more funding. One of the things that I think everybody's tracking, the infrastructure bill just passed. So there's a big piece to that. It's going to really affect, once we figure out exactly what gets funded, how much funding we're going to potentially get for Bluefield, that could dip into to some degree into some of the money we're going to spend on, let's say, College Avenue and Union Street, if we decide to do those huge infrastructure projects. But those could be funded through that infrastructure bill. That's potentially frees up more money in ARPA that we could use on something else. So, we're not under a hardcore race to spend this money. We want to spend it wisely. As I get the board prepped and educate the board on what I think are the best ways for us to go forward, we will push town halls out to the community to bring folks in and start to solicit feedback. And here's an example. I just had a discussion today with a bunch of department heads about parks across the city. As I've mentioned before, when you talk about city-owned property, not just parks, we're talking a neighborhood of 180, 190 different parcels of property that we've got to manage in some shape, form, or fashion. Then you've got about 19 different parks, but they're defined in different ways. You have parks with jungle gyms, you have dog parks, we have other areas that we just kind of cut the grass on for folks to use as green space. But there's various uses and it all comes at a cost. So I've asked our department heads and our team to come together to really lay out truth to task or kind of individual to task and what's the defined purpose of all these parks. And then come up with a plan that will open up to the community of really the full scale of what we manage park, green space wise across the state, and make a smart decision on how we allocate our funding and how we use these parks. I got a lot of phone calls on requests on individual parks. I'm reticent to make any decision on an individual park until we have a full scope and scale of what the entire city looks like. So then we can kind of come back together with a very holistic look of how we want to improve our parks. That will be a very descriptive path forward where we'll solicit input and make a good decision. But there's also a greater park project discussion going on in the county where there are additional funds for parks as well. Princeton has ideas about their parks, the county does as well. And there's nothing that says we can't partner on those efforts as well to bring more revenue down here. So I am cautiously optimistic based off the discussion that Peter and I had. And we'll drive that conversation from Bluefield to do it to get us where we need to go. But I think we're in a very good spot. And I think the team here's doing a good job. And we're just going to go very methodically to lay all these huge expenses out, because I think we're at a very good spot in the city to make some serious life-changing decisions here for the future of our community. So we'll be very judicious in that approach. But thanks, Ron. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Cecil. Jim?
Can I have permission to share?
Yes.
Very quickly this afternoon, just want to give a reminder for Small Business Saturday. It's actually 18 days. We've been pushing out information, doing some videos with the businesses, 32 businesses that are participating. And the goal is to help Bluefield's businesses, not just on Small Business Saturday, but every day. I think with the supply chain issues, I think people will start looking more local issues, local Christmas gifts, things like that, because if you order something from Amazon, you may not get it till Christmas 2022. You never know. I'm joking with that. Cecil mentioned the website. Also, Faith Blackwood, who works part-time with me, had a big hand in that too. So I want to make sure she gets a plug as well. The last time the rack card did not have in there the Mercer County CPP part. Their part is Oh What Fun, and you'll see their link there. It's got everything from the hometown Christmas festival to other information, and that QR code goes to Holiday of Lights things to do. So we ordered 10,000 of those, which would be coded to the Holiday of Lights, and have those available. They're supposed to be in prior to the event. I think it'd be good to have the folks that are working there sort of coached up on how to use those things like that. The goal is to get them to turn left when they leave. I track a lot of things with entrepreneurship. And so there is a 3-step to startup webinar. It's a Zoom meeting next week. We're going to push it out to some of the folks we work with, 9 a.m. to noon on Tuesday the 16th. It's very important when you start looking at investments and other things like that, that some of the startups we're working with have access to capital. So again, we want to track that, make you aware of some of those things. And then lastly, a big piece of news. Mr. Mayor, this letter was addressed to you. Would you like to address that?
You go ahead.
It is a great piece of news, though.
I don't have the letter in front of me.
I'm Doctor.
This is from the United States Economic Development Administration. Dear Mayor Martin, as submitted, your proposed contract documents, final plans and specifications, and the construction checklist for the Exit 1 development have been reviewed and are approved. EDA approval plans, specifications, contractor-related documents is to assure compliance with the terms of the Financial Assistance Award and does not imply nor attest to the accuracy, completeness of design, dimensions, details, proper selection of materials, nor compliance with required code or ordinances. The biggest takeaway from this is the plans are approved, and the goal is the project will be either in Friday or Monday's paper, advertising for bids being due 30 days thereafter. And then once the bids come in, RK&K will evaluate the bids and make sure it's the lowest responsive bidder is licensed, bonded, things like that. Then they'll come back and make a recommendation to the board, and then we can turn the contractor loose. Hopefully dirt will be flying sometime first of the year. So I read it for you, Mr. Mayor, so
I appreciate that. Well, we've been waiting a year for dirt to move out there, so that's awesome news. Thank you.
That's it, unless there's any questions.
All right, thank you, Jim. Does anyone have anything else? All right, I need a motion to enter executive session to, okay, thank you very much. To consider legal counsel, advice of legal counsel pursuant to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, subsection 12. Do I have a second? I already have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All right, thank you all. And Billy will come back and adjourn.
Yes, ma'am.
Ron, you want me to
We
name?
had the road in front of our house was paved, I don't know how many years ago. How many years ago was it paved?
Well, just recently, only a few years ago.
Just a few years ago.
Okay, so,
But there is a truck that is over weight limit that passes our house every morning at about 8, a little bit after 8 o'clock. And it has, how many pounds are you allowed to have on a truck in the city streets?
Ma'am, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look that up there and find out.
Okay, well, it's a paving truck. It has asphalt on it. It's a very heavy truck. It passes our house every day. And as far as I'm concerned, it's ruining the road in front of my house that I had to pay for personally.
well, the first time,
First time I had, it was the first time
second time.
second time we didn't pay for it.
About a month.
You mean you paid to get the road paved out in front of your
Yeah,
house?
in front of our house.
Back in the day,
It was an assessment, right?
it was an assessment.
On the
And,
frontage.
actually, I found out that, yes, they assessed you, but, most of the people
Didn't pay,
didn't pay it,
but we did.
but we did. But
And
that's
this
going
paving
back, that's
truck,
going back 30
this
some years.
paving truck with all this asphalt passes my house every morning about 8 o'clock.
Relax.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's tearing up the road in front of my house,
What street, ma'am? So I know.
Edgewood Road.
Edgewood.
Ma'am, is there any markings on it? You know, who owns the truck or?
Yeah,
Well,
ABC, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's right before you get to where we live.
I think she assumes that it's the paving company that's down on Grassy Ranch. I can't confirm or deny, because I have no idea.
Well, sir, it would help me, ma'am, if you see it tomorrow morning at 8, if you can try to help me identify who it is.
You know, if you can.
Yeah, or get a picture, or just, hey, when it drives by, hey, is it, you know, what does it say on the side of the truck? So I make sure I know exactly who it is. Yeah. We'll find out.
This is why the cameras would be a great addition to the city.
Did it come by this morning? I can look at my cameras.
Problem is, I don't know, mileage, but it's.
I don't know if there's a way to answer it.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, we need to look at it, and hey, if there's a weight limit or something, or you're tearing up the roads, you gotta look at it, but we'll figure it out.
This is.
Hey, ma'am. Ma'am, hey, I know your husband has my email. When you identify that truck, please send me an email, let me know who it is.
Take pictures.
And I'll run it down.
And could you, somebody explain exactly what this, was just, done by the feds out there at exit 1? I thought this was already all done.
They have to approve the plans and specifications to allow us to go out to bid. And that's what they're
Well,
doing.
now, so what have you done so far out there? Anything?
Engineering's taken a long time.
Okay, engineering, in other words, you actually haven't put in the pad,
No, construction is not started. The engineering had to be done, including core drilling, design, approval from the Department of Highways, approval from the DEP, all those permits.
I
have to
see,
be
so
done.
now we're
And then the
going.
last thing is getting the EDA to give us permission to advertise the project for bids because they're putting $1 million in the project.
Okay, and are we putting money,
The other money thus far has been from local foundations.
okay, so in other words, this taxpayers haven't really put in.
The other's been grants thus far.
Okay, and do you have any, right now, people interested?
Yes, but I'm not at liberty to say anything
I
about that.
understand that, okay, but you do. Okay.
Anything else for the team? All right.
All right, thank you.